welcome. I'm glad you guys took the time to come and join us. And my name is Mark Reddon. I'm the Director of Security for Fremont Street Experience. Just a little bit about my background is retired from Las Vegas Metro after 27 years of law enforcement in Nevada. I retired as a police lieutenant about 5 or 6 years ago. And then I've been working at Fremont Street as the Director of Security Risk Management for about the last 5. And Kathleen, I'll let her introduce herself, is CEO and inventor of Shotpoint.
So I'm the CEO of Databuoy Corporation, and we do make the Shotpoint system. I wasn't the sole inventor on this. Can't take complete credit for it, but it's a great technology. It was funded by the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, which is my background is in Department of Defense science and technology, research, and technical program management. And after my career, I saw this technology and decided this was something that we ought to pursue. We worked as a contractor being funded on the development of the fundamental technology that went into Shotpoint for a number of years. And in the around 2016, we pivoted to seeing if we could put this out into the public safety and commercial public safety market, basically to, I think, respond to that there's a need for better shock detection and ways to increase safety for the public. That's my background.
So what we were kind of focusing on with this is how the Shotpoint system works in the environment that I have downtown Fremont. And, you know, always in a room, about 50% of the people have never even been to Fremont. They've heard of it, but they don't quite understand it, or they've never been down there when it's really busy. And so I got just a quick short video. We want to just kind of play and kind of show you or highlight the environment. It gives you kind of an overview of what we're dealing with in the downtown area. I mean, it's not just contained tight crowds in these concerts, but we're also, you know, we're open air, so there's elevated positions everywhere around us, which is one of the reasons I reached out to Kathleen and Databuoy is because of after October 1, the first question we get out of any artist that comes to play down there is, what do you have in place? What are your security measures? So, you know, I reached out to Kathleen and I said, I have this canopy that's, you know, 5 city blocks long. And of course she thought I was talking about an umbrella. So I had to explain this to her. So that's why I'm explaining to you what we have down there and what it is. So, you know, that's one of the sensors up in the canopy. And what we want to cover today is just about why we need it down there in our threat environment, why specifically the Shotpoint system, and how it gets installed and where it needs to go, and then how it works realistically in the field out there on the street, what the value of is it for the precise information, and then how it works with the noise. As you can tell, there's a lot of noise down there, fireworks, we got bands, cars, vehicles, backfire. There's 2 streets that intersect through the canopy that drive through with Harleys and air horns and fire trucks. So, it's a pedestrian mall that's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's open to the public. It's a public street. We just manage the safety and security and the venues for the city of Las Vegas. So we're a private company that handles all that. There's 3 different stages operating every day. Not every day do we have Dokken or, you know, Starship or, you know, some of these other main headliners, but there's always either a DJ or a local band that we have up on the stage, and they draw big crowds. Every hour from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. we have a Viva Vision show, which is the entire canopy plays some kind of a short video song, and the amplified sound is turned up a little bit to highlight the show. It's 5 city blocks long, and it's got a 600,000 watt sound system. Not to mention that, you know, the surrounding area is all bars, nightlife. So you're going to see a lot of large crowds attending the events. And because of that bar nightlife, you're going to see a lot of gun violence, which is one of our major concerns down there.
Okay. I'm going to
go ahead. I was going to say, I'll let Kathleen explain exactly the science behind where it has to be mounted and how it got mounted down there.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about well, first I'm going to talk about when Mark first tried to explain what this canopy was. I was trying to understand what these umbrellas might look like, and so, but why Shotpoint and the installation requirements? The first thing is that it's an outdoor environment, right? This canopy is actually, it's not closed. You know, it's open, rain can come through this. These are holes in the top, so it really is an outdoor environment, and yet it's covered. So, so systems that are the citywide systems, they're going to be blocked, right, by the canopy. So it's blocked. Yet it's outdoors, it has all the elements of being outdoors, and yet it's in this kind of enclosed area. It's a half a mile long, it's a huge space. The only mounting positions that are available for us are these poles, which are 55 feet in the air, and because you, when you look at where they have their networks available, it's up there, 55 feet up. They're 60 meters apart, so it has to be a sensor system that can operate with that kind of separation distance. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the other systems out there. So ShotSpotter, something everyone knows about, it's citywide, and yet this canopy is kind of a system that would maybe block, or something that might block a system like that. A lot of the other systems require muzzle flash information. They're short range, they can't work in this outdoor environment at all. So that's part of it. Part of it is the also need to work with the existing video surveillance network, which we have. We have large crowds, so we actually have to localize where that shot is coming from, because just to have a system that says, I think I heard a shot, that doesn't, you know, that doesn't give you enough information when you have a crowd like that and you're trying to respond. So there's a lot of things that help our system, that point to our system as being, it's pretty much the only solution for a problem like this. I'm going to go again and kind of reiterate what the different types of acoustic shot detection systems are and why ours is different. So let's first of all, those white boxes, that represents a shot point system. Our shot system is, this is an indoor one. It is a 4-channel microphone array. There are some systems out there that have a single detector, which would be a single microphone, or acoustic detector, or what they call ultrasonic detector. Those are all, by the way, sound. So it's all sound. We're all listening in some way, shape, or form. And so they might have a filter that filters for a gunshot. Say, oh, I heard a gunshot, right? Great. All that says is that detector thought it heard a gunshot. It doesn't give you any other information than that. And if you put this in an environment like that, maybe somewhere in the area a gunshot might have happened, or maybe something happened right here, right? The microphone doesn't know how far away it is. If you have 4 microphones, it gives you more information because as the sound passes across, you can say this first, that second, this gives you a time difference, which allows you to kind of compute the direction that the sound came from. If it hit this one first, then it's likely it came from here, right? So a 4 microphone array can get you direction of arrival, okay? But it can't tell you how far away it is. Still can't tell you that. If I put 2 together, well, one here and one down on another baseline, somewhere 30 feet away or 40 feet away or 100 feet away, if I separate 2 of these sensors, this one can tell me something called time difference of arrival. The sound crossed this one. Over there, the sound crossed that one. And with that, we can actually locate the source. And I kind of want to say this again in a different way. When that sound goes off, it doesn't tell you what time it happened, right? So it's not like a radio or something that has a timestamp attached to it, right? If it had a timestamp attached to that sound, then I know what time it left, I know what time it arrived, then I would know how far away it was, right? Straight up, I would have that answer. But that sound source doesn't tell you how far away. All we know is that it arrived at this one at this time and that one at that time. So there's a technique that's required that uses 2 arrays. It's complicated, but that's what we use, and that's how we're actually locating on the sound. So if there's a system that has a single sensor, just remember, it'll tell you the direction of arrival, but again, it could happen right here, right? Very small sound could be very loud to this microphone, or it could be the same loudness, and it could be a 22 fired from 200 meters away, right? A single sensor doesn't know that. This is why we need this multi-sensor network. So we patented this multi-sensor fusion approach, and that's fundamental to why our system gets that location precision. By the way, because we have this angle of arrival, we can also separate bounces, reverberations, and so there's a lot of echoes in the environment. Those, we don't report multiple shots because we have really good information about the angle that it's supposed to be coming from. So all of this computation is done in the cloud, and we do it well, and we've been doing it for a very long time. But this precision location, this ability to remove all the other sources of false detections, bounces and echoes and reverberation, that is completely unique to us. That's the difference. Hopefully that's making sense. And it's a hard thing to explain, but so what do we do when we have this location? So again, we don't tell you the location of the sensor that detected. We give you the location of the shot, right? This is the shot that fired. That was fired. We have 2-meter accuracy or better. And again, 2-meter accuracy is based on the fact that our sensors are 60 meters apart. If they're closer together, we actually get better accuracy, right? A little bit. So when we're indoors, we sometimes get a foot accuracy if our sensors are, pretty close in a hallway door. But at the 60 meter spacing, we're 1.5 to 2 meter accuracy. That's what we're getting. But that is good enough. 2 meters tells you, what person, right? When you look in the video, when you look in the picture, you look at the dot, if you're familiar with this part of the world, you know this spot, you know where to look for that shooter. Our video integration is very, very, it's optimized so that we're pulling the frame from the exact time of the shot. So we are most likely to capture that shooter with their gun up like this. We're most likely to get that shooter while they're taking the shot. We also add sound. We also load up before and after videos, so you can see a couple of seconds before and a couple of seconds after. That's always helpful because when you look at that, you can look in that direction of the shooter if you can't really make out the gun right away. By the way, I want to talk about cameras or techniques where you can identify weapons from imagery. Okay, if you're looking at this image, if I can't see the gun, those systems can't see the gun. Most of the time, that gun is going to be hard to find. You're going to be directed to that spot. You can trust the dot. We always say this: trust the dot, trust that location. You'll get to that spot, and you're going to look. That's likely your shooter. If you play that before and after video, you're likely to see the shooter stop, shoot, and put their arm down. That's going to confirm, right? So that's why that before and after video is helpful, because sometimes when you look at that, it's hard to confirm that's a shot. But that extra video gives you the confirmation you need.
Now, I'll just make a comment on that too, is what one of the things I like about this system is it doesn't just give me the one still shot, and it doesn't do just the one camera. So it's connected to 3 different cameras, and you get the sound bite. But not only can I see, okay, obviously it's easy to see in this low video, but on the last slide, where, you know, if that's a big crowd, I can see where the gun is, but I can get the snapshots of the other cameras around it, so I get to see what else is going around. So if I got a problem right here, then I also get the immediate of what's going on in the area, because that might have been where the gunshot was fired, but it might have hit somebody outside of the range of that camera, but that's also captured on a different angle. So it gives me the 3 different angles plus the sound bite. So it's more than just identifying, you know, just where the shot came from, which is what the system does, but for us as security and our response protocols, it allows me to see the whole picture of the whole scene instantly. Sorry.
So, no, exactly, and what we try to do, we don't just throw data at people, right? We don't, just because we have the technology, we can grab the data, we can send it out. What's really important in what we do is the fact that we're trying to present that data to the user in a way that gives them only the information they need, the information that they really need to act, right? What do they need to instantly confirm the event? What do they need? What is the least amount of data can we package together so that, as Mark said, I want to look around for victims. These are the things that I need to do in that moment. I've got 10 seconds. I need something that takes me 10 seconds to figure out, right? If I have to fiddle with it and it takes me longer than 10 seconds, or if it's not intuitive, or if I forgot my training, then we haven't helped anyone at all. We need to give them something that they can open and see, and in that 10 seconds, get the information that they need. And so, so we've tried really hard to optimize for that. All of our stuff works on phones. We send out push text messages to a large number of subscribers, and the subscribers in your area are not just security personnel, you know, but the casino managers. We have a large number of police that are on there, and everybody's getting the message. By the way, it's completely automated. We don't have any control. When that system says when the system says it thinks there's a shot, it's going to go out to 150 people, like that. So, our user kind of suggested that we have a mechanism when you have it in your hand, to update 150 people about your situation. If you're the first one on scene and everyone gets a shot report, you can say, I'm here, or I need help, or with one, and again, intuitive and fast. Mark, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we have about 160, I think, people assigned, and it's mainly your first responders. It's all your frontline officers, because they're the ones that need the information now. They don't want to find out 5 minutes after somebody was shot that they have to turn back around and go back to where they just were. Or if there's a shooting that just happened right next to them, you know, they need that information now. Everybody gets the message at the same time, and they all want to ask you questions. What's going on? Give me the info. Give me an update. So this just allows us to rapidly re-communicate everything. So if we have a suspect that fired a gun and we have him in custody, and I can rest all the casinos, we can put them at ease by saying, hey, we've got it under control, that, you know, nobody else is needed to help. If it's something more and we're tracking an active shooter, we can use the free text and send that message straight out to the casinos. And then they all have their security protocols to lock down the doors or do whatever they need to do to prevent the incident from growing out of hand. But that immediate response back is invaluable to contain the incident.
And oh, by the way, when this message goes out, it just goes out as another simple text, and it says update to the shot report. So so right away you know that there's been an update for the shot report, and that's how that message train happens. So so everyone really knows that message should be attached to that shot report that you just got, so they understand what it is. So this is just a graph of all the events that we've had, and as I said, it's a completely automated system. There's been a lot of testing. So we've got shots on the initial check. Oh,
let me just interrupt for a minute, just so everybody understands. These little green dots here are the sensors themselves. The yellow circles and the yellow triangles are the cameras, or the camera views. The circles are a 360 camera, and the ones that are triangles that's the direction that camera is picking up. And then all the little red marks are actually shot placements, which is what is highlighted down here at the bottom. But this monitors our system so that we know if something goes wrong with the sensor, that green goes to red, correct? Is that, it turns red?
It'll have a little triangle.
Oh, it goes to a
exclamation mark saying that, please come offline. Yeah.
Right, so that'll let us know if we need to get this sensor back up so we're not operating in the blind. But I just want to kind of explain that, because that's our area of operation, from Main Street, 5 city blocks, all the way down to Las Vegas Boulevard.
And this, by the way, this is our web application. So again, we have text messaging that goes out in the control center, or wherever your security operations sit. They can actually have this web view. But this is really almost a forensics tool. This is something that you can browse. You can go back in time and relook at a shot report. All the data, every shot has been stored. It stays there forever. So this is, you know, contained, and it belongs to the customer, and they can go back. Those little shot dots, they're actually time decay. So the latest shot is red, and the older shots are yellow. So if you're trying to watch the movement of a shooter, and if you look at them, if they're shooting multiple shots and they're moving along, you'll see the oldest one is yellow, and this actually helps a lot of cases in the police when they're doing an investigation as to who shot first, right? They like to know the progression and the timeline of the events, and they have that in their hands immediately, right? So they can be right on scene, and they already have this in their hands. So so a lot of stuff that we provide is instant, and it becomes available, things that normally would have taken a long time to put together. But now the other thing I want to mention is, because we're automated, if you notice, in between these planned tests, they haven't gotten any shot reports. And we're going to talk about that at the end when we had an actual live event. And I spent time talking with a Las Vegas Metro police officer who said, I'm so glad I got that information about that event. And I said, but what else? You didn't get 5 false alarms a week, right? So this is something that I think we're really proud of. And, you know, no one can ever claim 100%, but we're really proud of the fact that our nuisance factor is really basically near 0. They're not getting nuisance reports. So in all this time. So
because you have to understand that, especially when we talk to casinos, the way Fremont Street Experience works is we work under the board of directors, which is all the casino owners. If there's a false alarm and we evacuate a bunch of people, it costs the casinos a lot of money. So this is a financial impact of a false alarm that is not acceptable to the board of directors. So it's super important that this is exactly that 99% zero false alarms. I think we've had one or two, and one was because of a rivet gun. And
Well,
the
it
other
was because it was,
too close.
no, because our sensors are up here and we're trained to locate on the ground. And because this is physics, I'm gonna explain it though, since you brought it up. Thank you, Mark. So if you have these microphones and they are all in the same plane, right? They're all in the same plane. So they can understand left, right really well. They get this angle. But up and down, not so good, right? Because they're all trying to understand Z. So we, in that case, if we want to get really good three-dimensional source location, then we would have to have sensors in a three-dimensional position. Because they're all in the same plane in your system, we have a system that is making the assumption that the solution is going to be low, right? It's because we put in the altitude of the sensors. And what happened at that time is that guy stood up on the platform in between the sensors and was 6 feet away, or 6 meters away, instead of what we were normally expecting, like 26 meters, where he would have been on the ground. So the system got confused because of that. They were interpreting what should have been, what it thought would have been ground-based as a high-based, and that's literally what happened in that case. And that was, you know, a nail gun.
But as a plus to that, even though we did get the one false alarm, within 10 seconds we were
Yes.
able to go and look at all the videos and listen to the sound and go, okay, this was just a false alarm.
Well, and you had the picture of the guy,
We had
and you saw him pick it up and go
Yep.
like this.
So we instantly knew this was not a
Right.
this was not a gun check.
Which
So
is-
everybody send out the update and everybody stand down. No response necessary. So
And one thing I hate are single point failures, right? So, you know, the cost of ownership of a system like this, because we're adding all that other information, and from your, you know, lounge chair or wherever you're sitting, you know, by the pool, you can pick it up and you can look and you can resolve that in 10 seconds without getting 2 uniformed officers in the car and having them drive over and look for some evidence, because by tying this together with the before and after imagery and all that we do to give you the intelligence around that situation, around that event, allows you to do that, you know, quickly and analyze it and then instantly communicate it out. So failures happen, but single point failures don't really happen with a system like this, because you can, you know, you've got that next step of that video, you can see what happened, so that's part of the system, that's how it should work. So noise environment, the subject of the talk is how do you operate in a noise environment with an acoustic sensor? And just to give you an idea, so this is the day-night pattern of the Fremont Street Experience. You can see, you know, there are quiet times, but a lot of times it gets, see that little line that says where it's 130 dB? There are times when the sensors, I hate to tell you, get a little more. It gets really loud sometimes, and these are just spikes, right? Certain sensors get some pretty loud spikes. For the most part, it's below 130 dB. But your noise environment's pretty high. This is a courthouse where it's super quiet, but every once in a while, something very close to a sensor, maybe somebody, you know, something spiked it, and then a housing project, right? So they shoot a lot of fireworks and things. It's hard to tell what's going on, and that's an outdoor environment. They drive motorcycles a lot. You know, so there are busy weekends where you can see, and then there's, you know, quiet during the week. But every noise environment exceeds 130 dB. Just naturally things occurring in the environment. And now what we're looking for is, you're looking for a gun, which 60 meters away is 90 dB, right? Well, that's quiet, believe it or not, for your environment, right? So it isn't a system that says, I want to find the loudest thing. You'll never get those 22s if you're just looking for something loud, but you'll get a lot of false alarms. But this is kind of this gives you an idea that yes, guns are loud from 60 meters away. They're pretty quiet, right? So you have to have an understanding about how far away this is if you're going to pick those types of things up and separate them from other noises. And there's got to be a lot of other intelligence behind it.
So in the middle of a crowded concert or a crowded night, our normal average decibel noise level is louder than a gunshot. So if you're in the crowd, you're not even going to hear the gunshot. The system will pick it up and let us know. But if you're not right next to the person that's firing the gun, you're not even going to hear it because you're going to be deaf from the music and the speakers, and definitely the people that are right up front stage. They're not going to hear a gunshot that was fired behind them or away from the stage. So
well, especially if they're facing away from you, which is where you get these much lower values.
And honestly, I think where do most of the problems we have in a concert? They don't happen right in the middle of the crowd. They normally happen around the outside of the crowd. People in the walkways, that's where the fights happen. That's where all the problems happen. They happen out towards the back side of the concert perimeters. Nothing really happens down front very often. Come once in a while. But all the problems we've ever had have always been on the outskirts of the big crowd, which means they're so far away from the command post or from the security post, we're not even going to notice that a gun got fired. And we're going to start hearing rumors. Hey, we think there was a gunfire. People are going to panic in that area, and panic spreads like wildfire. And if we can determine immediately that it's not a gunshot, that's also important. If somebody throws a firecracker out there and the system tells us it's a firecracker, then we can immediately calm everybody down, especially our security team. Whereas if it's a firecracker and we don't have a system that can differentiate between a firework and a gunshot, people are just going to assume it's a gunshot and they're going to start panicking. Then security's going to panic. Then the police are going to panic. And then the bands are going to panic and the whole thing's haywire. So this is what's invaluable in a real world noisy environment, is being able to, correctly identify the difference between just a loud bang and actually a gunshot, and then to pinpoint, because that's another problem. If you're operating in 13,000 people crowd and there's a gunshot, and even if you do hear it, where did it come from? Nobody knows. And you just look around to see who's panicking the most, right? So, anyway.
It takes a human. Humans can't locate like that. Our location ability with our ears aren't anywhere useful in that environment, particularly when there's echoes, right? And so this is what we do. If it's a firework, we're going to locate that. Trust the dot. We're going to get that position. We do separate fireworks. We do report fireworks because those are things that a lot of customers want to know and they want to see that. So, but we're going to give that location. So again, confirm through video. You can see the guy. We have a firework guy shooting it off in the middle of the road there and in under the canopy, and you want to go talk to that guy because that's. Okay, so what we do in our stage shows, the pyrotechnics, the types of pyrotechnics that they put on stage, they automatically are just removed from our system. We don't pass those forward. Some of these exploding lamps and fuses, we actually have sometimes where they do kind of present themselves like fireworks because they are sometimes, if a fuse blows, it's a blast. So that does kind of come up as a firework, and then Mark's had some experience on something that happened on the roof, which confused everyone. Why is there a firework on the roof? And that's, we have a general category when those types of non-shot explosions types happen, they do sometimes come up as a firework. But all of these other noises are completely removed from the system. Again, particularly street noises, emergency sirens, and these are noises that if you looked at that acoustic signature and you zoomed in on it, you're going to see something very impulsive, something that can definitely fool a single system, a single node system.
I'm not going to explain the whips. Because you just have to go to Fremont Street to experience why there's whip noises on Fremont Street. So we'll breeze over that one.
No. Now since you brought it up, so whips are shock waves, and so gunshot detection systems, especially ones that say ultrasonic, those ones that say I'm just going to look for an ultrasonic, there is a lot in the ultrasonic range that a whip produces that definitely could come in as something that presents itself as that type of shockwave that could be related to a gunshot. So yes, it's the kinds of sounds that are impulsive, that your ear doesn't hear this, but the things that, you know, those high frequency sounds, they can give you system. Okay, let's talk about just another aspect of with the value of getting that location. It's knowing who the shooter is and who's not your shooter. And this is, so we've had systems in environments where they have a lot of gun violence, and I believe that the huge benefit, besides the fact that we are getting shot reports 30 seconds to 3 minutes before a 911 call, is this precision location. And I have many examples in this area where we've had shots that are behind buildings, places where they're never going to find that victim, and they get to them in 30 seconds, and they're in shock trauma before 911. You know, they're already got the shock trauma guys coming before 911 calls are coming in. And in one case, we had last November, we actually had the officer get there literally in 30 seconds, and the shooter was right there, didn't have time to go anywhere. And so, case closed. We're really proud of that one. This is one where you have potentially, this is a witness, right? This guy over here, but if you just said, I think I have a shot report, and you go look at that CCTV, your eye's gonna be drawn to that guy, because he has that red sweatshirt on. He looks like he's the only one around the area, and you're gonna go in aggressively maybe and try to, you know, and that is if you're doing really well. Most of the systems don't even show you that video, right? Most of the systems will show you a report, you go in there and you're aggressively policing, anybody could be your suspect. In this case, you know exactly where that shooter is. He's right here on the sidewalk, right? On this, right here next to the sidewalk. That's where your eye should go. So you look at the video and look at not where his feet are, look at where the gun is, right? That's where the shot happened. There's your shooter. He's in the shadows. You never would have seen him if you didn't have a system that pointed you to this spot to say, look for your shooter there. And but the value of that is you go in looking for your shooter, knowing that everyone else is a witness, someone who might have been traumatized, and you treat those people differently. And that enhances your relationship with the community because you're effective, you're taking care of the problem, and you're not treating everyone as if they're a potential shooter. So I love to talk about that a little bit. Indoors, again, just an example of how we get much better precision. We get sensors that are a little bit close together. So in the indoor environment, if you have an indoor space, you know, we do get within a foot accuracy. And I like to do this with our users who go in and they want to test. I always ask them if they can just do me a favor and put a blank weapon in one hand, a blank in another hand, and shoot like this, right? So old Western style. And what that shows is that we have first shot, second shot, first shot, second shot. It throughout all of their test shots, it really shows our precision, and it gives them confidence knowing that, you know, it's we're doing that. I'm going to kind of quickly move ahead, but the system detects not just pistols and weapons and locates the shooter, but we can also pick up a bullet from a rifle, which allows us to draw a trajectory back to that sniper. So if you have a high-angle shooter, someone who might be in a parking garage and shooting into a crowd, or Mandalay Bay, right, Harvest 91 scenario, or what happened in Washington, D.C., where I live, about a week and a half ago, there was a guy who waited for dismissal, was in an apartment building, and started shooting at the parents and the kids while they're picking their kids up. And it took them 5 hours to get to the guy. They had no idea where this person was. So for these kinds of situations, if you have a system that can pick up that rifle trajectory and draw that, and tell you exactly where the shooter is with precision, which we can do, then anyway, that is a feature that we provide, and the utility is still growing in terms of our customer base. But here's an example. So we did this for the NFL draft. I want to explain a little bit about how this worked. We have we had sensors around the perimeter where the event area was for the people that we were protecting. We were protecting the crowds around the Bellagio and also around the Caesars Forum area. And under the hood here is a 3D model. So we've rendered the 3D model. We also had a 3D point cloud. We had 1.5 million points. We had 100 faces that we modeled, 100 different possible building faces where there could have been a shooter. And so each one of these faces, we actually had it mapped in our database where we actually had measured associated the particular 3D point with not only with the address and the floor. So in this case, and these are all test shots. We were just running through doing test shots and making sure that we were properly getting the faces right. But the shot report would come in Bellagio, which would have been the Bellagio area. There were two areas, Bellagio and Caesars Forum. Came from the Planet Hollywood, and the reason why we put Bellagio is because you want to direct them to where the impact point is, right? So the impact point is Bellagio. The shooters at Planet Hollywood, North Vistas, floor 14, 15, yeah. So so that's going in the text message. So in a second and a half, there were 300 people on the list would have this message saying, that's where your shooter is, right? That's and that gives you, anybody who's in the building, anybody who's set up a security, most of those hotels and properties were staging people, so we could have had a responder there, in again, probably 30 seconds to a minute, right away. And what that does is that takes away that shooter's ability to, just to continue on and create a mass casualty event. So, that's the kind of protection that the 3D sniper locator system does for you. But okay, so we're back to this. I think we've covered everything. We have wide separation, we're ignoring false detections, we have precision location, which helps in crowds like this. So imagine, something happens in this area, right? I would say if I was in this type of a crowd and there was a shooter and it was nearby, I mean, you're on your own, right? They always tell you in the run, hide, fight scenario, the police are not coming for 5 minutes, so you better be prepared, right? Because how long is it going to take the police to know exactly where in this crowd was that shooter? 5 minutes? 10 minutes? 20 minutes? Without a system like this, right? So, so we want to make sure that these people are not on the run when that event happens. They get this message, somebody's talking to them, somebody knows where exactly they are. But this is a real life scenario, and actually, I can't stop this from happening. I'm going really fast. But this is what shows up on your text right here. This was the actual shooting that happened. Warning, disturbing content. And show a lot about what he was doing here. But all of this information comes to you in 10 seconds. The shot's going to play. Yeah. You see his picture, you see his shooting, you know where he is, and he's mapped. And
so let me just talk a little bit about this one, because this was a homicide underneath the canopy. I think it was about 4 o'clock in the morning. Two guys that are street performers get in an argument. They both had guns. The shooter knew the other guy had a gun, so he just decided to shoot first. Now, without all the ambient noise being super loud, you can pretty much hear there was a gunshot.
You can also hear music in here.
There's a little bit, but it's not like in the middle of the crowd of the concert where it's super confusing. So in this, but there's still so much more valuable information in this. When our staff responded to this, there were witnesses going, hey, the suspect just ran down that way. And they're like, he's got a white t-shirt on and he's running that way. But our guys had already received the image of the shooter, and so they instantly knew that the witness was wrong. That wasn't the shooter that was running. It was actually the victim that was running away. And so, they didn't know the victim had been shot, but they knew that they weren't going to chase the wrong person. They were going to go look for the right person, because they already had that image of who the right person was that they should be looking for. So if we went and had that, our guys would have been distracted by a witness who didn't really know what was going on, but was trying to be helpful. So it's invaluable just to have that information immediately, because it doesn't go through dispatch and then get relayed, and then somebody goes, give me the description again. It goes straight to the officer, it goes to their phone, it goes to everybody else that's responding. The other nice thing about this is, like, this tells you exactly where the shots went. So we know on this, because we were there, that the guy got shot once in the stomach, but the other rounds just hit the walls. Well, in a normal scenario, where we don't have all this information, we know that there was 3 guns fired, or maybe there was 4 rounds fired. I can't remember, was there 4 or 3? 4.
4.
But if only 1 bullet hit the victim who's now deceased, where did the other 3 bullets go? We have to track that all down. But right here, we have a 99% direction of where those other rounds went. And now we know where to go to look to where those impacts are at. So it saves a huge amount of manpower and time.
And yeah, and current practice, without a system like this, then you have some of the information, you don't have all the information, you have conflicting information, and you don't know what's true, right? With a system like this, you know what's true, because you can see it. So that's kind of the difference. It saves you time, and it saves you from going down rabbit holes, which is the story of a Harvest 91, by the way, right? Everyone says, well, somewhere in the police report, someone got it right. Yes, but there's 12 minutes of people who had it completely wrong, and nobody knows in that time what the truth is, right? So that's why this is helpful. I think this gets you that actionable information immediately. And the other thing always mystery to me, but the 2 guys or whoever was there at 4 in the morning probably hadn't been trained on the system very much, right? You know, so like, did they know what to do right then? Right? It's intuitive. You click on it, you open it up.
Yep,
And,
there's absolutely zero training to it. It's just open your phone and open the message, and it's pretty self-explanatory. Hey, there's the guy shooting. It's pretty obvious to see who the shooter is there, even in this small grainy photo. It's like, oh yeah, that's who I'm looking for.
Well, the message says, go to the 4 Queens. Right? The first thing says in the very immediate text message, even if you don't open it, it says shot happened at this time, 4 Queens. So now you know, first of all.
And I've worked on Metro, working with other shot detection systems. Those systems only tell me the area of the sensor. They say a shot was fired and this was the closest sensor to it, and so it sends me to the sensor. This doesn't send me to the sensor, this sends me to the shooter, which is more important. I already know where the sensors are. And the closest sensor could be a 360-degree area of up to 20, 30 feet. So that's kind of useful, but as a police lieutenant, all I did was send cops to go pick up brass, and they would get there and they would be all irritated because now they got to impound evidence because there was nothing there but some brass on the ground. So really, a shot detection system isn't super valuable. This kind of system, highly valuable. Big difference, huge difference. This gives you the information and the intel that you need. This is what you're going to base all your response plans on, your incident recovery plan on, your crime scene investigation. This guy was in custody within a day because we had everything already wrapped up for the homicide team before they even got there. So,
and that's what I got that thank you from the Las Vegas Metro PD. Thank you for wrapping up my homicide. It was very helpful. And and it all happened in 10 seconds, right? Yeah,
time stamped and delivered.
But to get to here, we have a lot of cooperation. It took a lot of work from you all, not only get the installation right, but to give us access to the cameras, tell us where the cameras are pointing. So some of this stuff has to be, worked in advance and pre-staged. But once you get these cameras integrated with the system, it's kind of intelligence that you get in that moment. And so that's, that's the value. Is not just location, but also I think the integration with the video. Okay, thank you for taking the time to,
Does anybody have any questions?
Does the system do, I mean, is it a gunshot detection system only? I mean, you talked about the trajectory, but are there other things it can do acoustically, or are there other elements of this sensor that has other capabilities?
Yeah, so I think once you spend the time, money, and effort to put this life safety system in your area, now you're gonna wait for a gunshot to happen. And you know, for that reason, there's a lot of folks that think about this and say, well, I don't know if I mean, so in this case, there is a good chance that there could have a gunshot in your area just because of the crowds and how many people come in. But a lot of people think about this and they think, well, I don't really know if that's a high enough probability that it's really worth it, because you just put a system in just for that purpose. So we feel like it makes sense to take advantage of that, but you saw how we tie together our system with that video system, with the mapping out the location so that we know exactly how to report this and how to send that message. And so we've copied that I got this in my pocket. So we are working with a product that you can carry. It's a panic button. We call it a GeoFob because it tells you, it's a key fob, tells you where you are. You push this button and hold it down, and it sends a message. The sensors also have RF localization too. The sensors will locate where the button got pushed. You'll get the picture, you'll get the sound, and you'll get the message that gets reported. And so this is an everyday use for the thing, because there are a lot of people that might feel like they want security to come and help them, right? You just want security to pay attention to this place in the world. You push this button, and they're going to get a message that it's got your badge photo in there. You know, you're assigned this button. It knows who pushed it. It knows where you are. It's going to tell you. It's going to show that before and after video. And I think one of the most valuable parts of this before and after video is, by the time you feel unsafe enough to push this button, probably what made you nervous might have already happened. It might have been a few seconds ago. So if you push this queues up before and after, so the security team can look 10 seconds in the past and see what just happened, right? Which will show them, will give them a lot of intel about the incident. And so Mark, I mean, you know, they're getting ready to try it out,
and I think that's going to be probably the next big thing is everybody's going to need panic buttons in their casinos, in their hotel rooms, for your workers, for maybe some of your high-end guests. So I can see that's going to be something that's going to be almost, they're going to start requiring people to use some sort of a safety device for your employees to protect them. But the other thing too, I was just speaking to I said in the area we have a lot of small bars around Fremont Street, and of course bars are always small buildings with alleys in the back, and in those alleys is where all your homeless people live, right? So I don't use it because our environment is so noisy. We have so much noise on our street that it's not a super useful tool for me. But in talking to the small bar group with Entertainment District, is they could put these sensors up in the alleys, and if they have some kind of a shooting or something in the alley, it's going to notify them, of course, that there's a shot. But if somebody kicks in the back door of a bar to go and burglarize a bar, the sensors can also be, you know, alerting to you call it a ruckus alert, to a loud noise in that area?
We do things that are loud and excessively loud, we report as a bang or ruckus, which is a non-shot report.
So in the middle of the night at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, there should be no loud, large noises in the back of a bar. But if the sensor picks that up, then we can send our security over to check the alley to see if somebody kicked in the back door or broke a window. So that, you know, and if you have them on the inside, you know, you're going to pick up any loud noises inside. So there's a lot more application to it than just the gunfire. I don't allow my subscribers to receive the firework notification, but my staff receives a firework because I don't want idiots running around Fremont Street throwing fireworks all over the place. And so my staff gets it, but I don't want to panic the casinos with fireworks. So if somebody lights a firework off on Fremont Street, our staff will go over and have a nice polite conversation. They'd be nice and say, please don't light fireworks on Fremont Street. So that's something that's useful aside from just the shot detection. So there is other applications for the sensors.
So with this, I think the plan is we don't have this yet, but we have a microphone that's on the board, so we're going to be able to capture 10 seconds of audio. So but the fact that this can, because this talks to that camera system, because this talks to that video surveillance network in that way, by allowing, because people looking at video surveillance, there have been studies where you can look at 25 different cameras or 5 different cameras, you're going to see the same number of incidents, right? You know, humans just aren't cued to just don't have, but if that incident happens to you, now you've alerted security, they understand the situation. If you can say 10 seconds into this device, now we have not just the sound that surrounded you, but this message, hey, you know, there's, and it could be something that's even not urgent, but you want security to come over. You know, this guy has been outside, you know, bothering people, I want you to come over and talk to him. Maybe it's not urgent, but it is a fast way of communicating and providing this before and after intel. So that's what we're hoping is.
We were just talking today, and one of the things that we're going to start with deploying these is at our stages. The stages aren't directly underneath the towers or the sensors, but ever since COVID, people want to live their best life, and so they're jumping up on the stages, they're tackling our guitar players, well, what else are they doing? They're throwing stuff, and so our stage crew is constantly trying to get a hold of security, but they're not the best at using radios or whatever. Besides, they're still trying to do their job with the sound mixes. So we're going to initially deploy it to the stages so that the sound crew can hit the button and security can immediately respond to the stages to pull people off the stage. And it is a nightly occurrence now where, you know, people have been caged up and now they want to get up and, you know, be on stage with the band. So we'll first deploy it there.
And also, what if they solve a problem and that person got away by the time security got there? This way you know who you're looking for. You know, so there's hopefully a lot of this intel, and the way this, you know, the way this communication platform works for you is just going to be something that is going to be fast and easy, and you know, that's and enhance the fan experience on Fremont Street. This is a shout out to the thank you IIFX for hosting us. We definitely want it's all about customer experience and it's customer satisfaction.